Yeah, you could probably make art with a potato, I feel like. You're very skilled. Hi, I'm an artist. I've been an artist for like a long time. And I'm not like a full-time professional artist yet, but in the time that I've been an artist, I've met a lot of other artists, and I've used a lot of different types of art supplies and art mediums, I don't know how to say that. So I think I'm qualified to tell you what your favorite art supply or art medium says about you. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, let's get started. So, pencil. If you stick to pencil, you're probably someone who likes to keep it simple. You first learned how to draw with a pencil and you really saw no reason to try any other supplies. Or maybe you've tried a bunch of other supplies and they're kind of all messy and annoying and complicated and not as good as the pencil. You feel like the pencil is kind of all you need. And you love maybe just the versatility of it. You love that you can just take a pencil with you wherever you go. You love that there's no mess, that it's not expensive. It's just a pencil. Maybe you're on a budget. That's another reason why you like to keep things simple, is you don't like spending a whole lot of money on art supplies. Maybe you don't like spending a lot of money in general. So you just feel like with your art, all you need is a pencil to show off your skills. You probably have like a set of pencils with like various hardness and softness and all different pencils for shading purposes. You could probably also just make good drawings with like a shitty mechanical pencil or a random number 2 pencil, because you're the type of person who feels like you don't need fancy supplies to make great art, and good for you on that. Pen. If you use pen, you're probably similar to somebody who uses pencil. You like that it's simple, you like that it's affordable, and you like that you can take it anywhere. But you probably have just this certain type of confidence. If you're somebody where you just go straight in with pen and you do not use pencil first, you're probably somebody who you feel like you can take your mistakes and just go with them and make it work. Or you're somebody who feels like your skill is at such a level where you feel like you don't make mistakes, which is also amazing. That's, wow, good for you. You're definitely somebody who can go with the flow, and I think that is really cool. And if your go-to media is ballpoint pen, I have seen some people do insane things with ballpoint pen, and I think it's just so crazy how there are people who have figured out how to shade with it and make it look so realistic. If you stick to ballpoint pen and that is your go-to media, you are probably somebody who is very capable of using whatever supply you have, and you're very resourceful. Yeah, you could probably make art with a potato, I feel like. You're very skilled in making what's basically an office supply into a professional artist supply. Or you just really like to challenge yourself and you don't want to spend a lot of money on art supplies. You're really hardcore, man. I don't know how you people who shade with ballpoint pen do it. It's crazy. You're probably pretty cool. Marker. If you like to use markers, you are also quite impressive, because marker is not something that you can erase, and you kind of have this effortlessness, coolness about you if markers are your go-to art supply. I feel like whenever I see someone on social media using marker, I don't know, it just looks like they're just casually drawing something, and they're always just casually drawing some interesting character they've dreamt up, and they're able to make the shading look so good. And I'm just like, what? You just Like, the marks they make are so confident and it looks so effortless. But then whenever I use marker, I don't know, I always feel like the mark is darker than I want it to be. I feel like shading with it is challenging. I've been trying to get better at shading with marker, but it's definitely not, and I don't think it's ever going to be my go-to media because, you know, of course with marker, you cannot turn back. There is no erasing, but also there's lots of colors and you have to choose the right one. And a lot of the time, the color on the outside of the marker isn't what the marker actually looks like. It is similar to pen with the whole, you know, you can't erase thing, but unlike pen, I feel like markers, I don't know, I feel like most markers more colorful, although, you know, you can have bright and colorful pens too. But you probably do have a fun, colorful vibe, though. I feel like you probably do. Colored pencils. If your go-to art medium is colored pencils, then I feel like you're probably either pretty young or young at heart. I feel like there are two types of people I see when it comes to colored pencil. I either see people making hyper realistic drawings of like food or lips or something, or these drawings with like these warm childlike vibes to them. And I feel like the first type of drawing I usually see is made by a teenager. And I mean, if you're that type of person where you're making realistic art with colored pencil, you might not be a teenager, but you are fantastic at blending, which I always am very impressed by people who are so good at blending with colored pencil. I find that very impressive. And if you are the second person where you're making that kind of warm, childlike vibes art, you're probably somebody who is like embracing your inner child. And I don't mean like childlike in a bad way, but just in this kind of like sweet, warm type of way. I feel like a lot of times that art is more nostalgic, and I feel like if you're making that type of art using colored pencil, you're probably nostalgic, you probably are a child at heart, you probably romanticize your childhood, you probably love your inner child, all of those things. You're probably like a really sweet, kind person, and you have a positive outlook. That's what I feel. So you're probably a really nice person, basically, if you use colored pencil. Crayon. Now, if you use crayon, you could potentially be a child, or you could just be very young at heart and nostalgic for your childhood, and you want to embrace that by using crayon, or you just don't like having to kind of stick to art supplies that people view as adult or professional, and you want to break the status quo a bit and get a 64 pack of crayons and go ham and be like, I can make serious art even with crayons, which I think is really cool, actually. Maybe you're also someone who likes to make art on a budget because a 64 pack of crayons doesn't cost a lot of money, and that's fantastic. And you get 64 colors. That's great, man. Or you could also, once again, just be very, very nostalgic for your childhood, which, same, yes. Oil pastel. You probably love the look of oil paintings, but you don't want to deal with all of the actual stress of oil paintings. You probably like making very colorful art, very detailed art with that painterly-like quality, but you don't really want to have to deal with like the long dry times of an oil painting. You don't have to deal with like ventilation, with like solvents and all that other stuff, and also the expenses of actual oil paint. And you probably are decently serious artists, I'm guessing. It's not really a very popular media, I think, for like the general public, but it is a fun media to use. And maybe potentially you're mixing this with actual oil paint, or maybe I'm stupid and you don't do that, but and that's not a thing you're supposed to do. But yeah, you're probably somebody who's very colorful and who basically likes oil painting, but without all the drama. Chalk pastel / charcoal. Okay, so I've grouped these two together for a reason, and that reason being they feel very similar to me. Charcoal and chalk pastel are both very, well, chalky, smudgy, and you can use them together. And if those are your go-to media, or if just charcoal is your go-to media, you are probably somebody who, A, doesn't mind getting messy, because honestly, these are like so messy. And B, you are probably somebody who has gone to art school or is currently in art school, because the way art schools love charcoal is so, oh my god. Every drawing professor will have you using charcoal. And like, it's a fine media, and I used to love it when I was like in high school, but it's so messy. Every time I've used it, I get it on my face somehow, in my hair. I don't know how that happens. I look like I was like in the coal mines after I used charcoal. So if you are somebody who loves charcoal, you don't mind. Or chalk pastel, because it's the same thing. You can mix these two together and use them together because they're both very chalky and messy. If you're somebody who likes using these, you're probably just not afraid to get messy. And you probably also like a type of media that you can blend a lot. You love a good bit of blending, but you're not afraid to get messy. You're not afraid to finish a drawing and then walk away looking like a coal miner. And honestly, good on you for that. Congratulations, that's great. Watercolor. I feel like when I think of watercolor, I think of like older women who paint a lot of florals. That may or may not be you, but no matter what, while the kind of image of watercolor is like sweet and light and flowy and beautiful, actually painting with watercolor is pretty hardcore, because watercolor is such a medium that is so hard to control, and it's not a medium where you can just fix your mistakes and go back and erase. So it takes honestly a lot of patience to use watercolor and to get it right. And so you're probably a very patient person, and you probably are, I don't know, I feel like you're good at taking things slow, taking your time with things, and you probably do paint some florals at least sometimes, and you probably do like soft and pretty things, and that's really cool. Good for you, honestly, for being good at watercolor. Congratulations. Honestly, I did used to love watercolor, but I would always draw over it with pen because my watercolor would look very blobby if I didn't, and very messy. So you could also be that person. And if you're that person who uses watercolor with pen, you probably like the look of the watercolor. You don't like the unmanageability of it. And so you're managing it a little bit more by drawing over it with pen. That was me. Acrylic paints. If your go-to medium is acrylic paints, you like to paint. And acrylic paint is probably the first paint that you ever used, and you saw no problem with it, and you just wanted to paint, and that is so valid. And you just like being able to sit down and paint, and your paint working the way you expect it to. And you probably also maybe work a little bit faster because you don't mind the fast dry time. But yeah, you probably like painting with a lot of colors. Maybe you learned how to paint in high school, in a high school art class, in a college art class, or maybe at a paint and sip. And you were just like, okay, acrylic paint, okay, cool. And you didn't really even think about using another type of paint because it's just the go-to basic type of paint. Yeah, all I really know about you is that you like to paint. But if you use acrylic markers and acrylic pens, you are probably somebody who you're always like looking for new interesting art supplies. You're probably always looking for ways to make your art practice easier and more convenient, and you found that. You probably like the colorfulness of acrylic painting, but you don't necessarily love all of the setup and cleanup of painting itself. So acrylic pens are great for that. Oil painting. If your go-to medium is oil painting, you're like a legit artist. Maybe you make a full-time living from your art. Good for you. Amazing. You probably went to art school. You probably have a dedicated studio space. Maybe you just started oil painting after you retired from a non-art career. Either way, I feel like you probably have a lot of like time and space to dedicate to your craft, and that is like so fantastic. Because the thing is, with oil painting, it does take a lot of time and space and energy and money, but you are willing to put a lot into your craft. And that's really cool, honestly. Good for you. Also with oil paints, you probably really do like the blendability of it, and you're willing to dedicate a lot of time to a specific project. And you are very passionate, definitely, and maybe you just really want to paint like the great artists of the past who used oil paint. You're willing to use the most inconvenient and expensive medium, and honestly, good for you. Because that is not me. Gouache. If your go-to art medium is gouache, you are probably at least a little bit self-taught, and you probably like, very colorful paintings, and you probably learned a lot about art through the internet. Because here's the thing with gouache. I started painting with gouache in 2021, and I heard about gouache from the internet. And I took a lot of art classes in high school. I majored in art for a while in college, and I didn't even hear about what gouache really was through any of those art classes. It was never introduced to me through an art class. I figured out what it was by hearing about it, I think on like TikTok or something, or like Instagram. I don't even know. And I was like, what is this media? What is gouache? So I just like ordered some online and started painting with it, and the rest is history. It's my favorite media. It's so great. So if you love gouache, you're probably somebody who you get a lot of art advice on the internet. If you're watching this video, the chances of your go-to medium being gouache is very high. Hello, fellow gouache friends. And you probably also just really like the flexibility of it. Maybe you liked the look of watercolor, the idea of it, but you didn't like that there was no white. You didn't like that it was so difficult and that you had to use the white of the paper. You didn't like kind of the limitations of it. And maybe you also like acrylic, but you don't like that the paint's dry and you can't use them again and that they're dead. Then basically gouache is the best of both worlds. So if you use gouache, you've probably tried a lot of paints until you figured out that this is the ideal paint for you, because it kind of has elements of all different paints all in one, and it's cool. It's kind of like if watercolor and acrylic had a perfect little baby. So you definitely take your art practice into your own hands, because you've probably seeked out a lot of information on the internet on how to make your art better, and through that is how you found gouache. So yeah, this is my favorite media, in case you couldn't tell. Digital. If you are a digital artist, there's so many different types of digital artists actually, but if you're a digital artist, chances are you're probably on the younger side. And if you're not on the younger side, you've probably been doing it for a long time and you have like a serious career out of it, and maybe you work in animation. And if you're on the younger side, maybe you have a dream of working in animation, working on a TV show. Maybe you have a more cartoony style, or you're probably potentially somebody who just started your art practice by drawing digitally, and by either drawing on, your tablet, your phone, your computer, whatever piece of technology you have that has a touchscreen that allows you to draw on it. You started drawing using that. So then the idea of actually going and buying art supplies now seems so silly, because you can make anything you want on your computer or phone or iPad, probably an iPad actually. Honestly, you probably watch anime. I'm gonna just say that right now. You're probably still like a fan of cartoons, even though you're an adult. You are able to see the art in something that a lot of people just view as childish, and that's really cool. And I think something else that's really, really cool about you is when you walk into a Michael's, you're one of the few types of artists who is not tempted to spend all of your money. Honestly, good for you. I've said good for you so many times in this video. Also, you're probably the most worried about AI, generative AI, AI art, compared to any other type of artist on this list. So I'm sorry for you on that. That sucks. And hopefully you haven't had your art stolen, and maybe you're glazing it to protect it. Maybe you don't know what glaze is. Maybe you forget to glaze your art all the time. I don't know, but no matter what, you should keep on making art and don't let the AI bros get you down. Mixed media / anything I haven't mentioned. So if you can't decide on one specific medium, or your go-to is like a mix of all different media, a few different types of media, or I didn't mention it on this list, it's something more obscure, you are probably just a really unique, creative person who you have your own specific way of doing art, and you really go against the status quo, and you worked hard to find exactly what is right for you in your art and what combination of media works best for you. And you are really creative and really resourceful probably, and you didn't limit yourself to any specific media too early on, and I think that's pretty cool. And you really have tried to find a way to make your art practice the best it can be for your life. Like, for example, maybe you use watercolor pencils because you do love the look of watercolor, but you can't deal with the unpredictability of it, and so you found a media that has everything you want in it. The predictability and control of colored pencils, but also the look of watercolor. And I think that's really cool. So you're probably just a really cool, fun, unique person. You might be the type of person who's just so resourceful and able to make art with literally anything, and that's pretty cool. Or maybe you're, on the flip side, the type of person who needs their one very obscure, specific media. There's also a possibility that I just forgot a very, very common media, which, yeah, that's very possible. So lastly, and leastly, actually, I was gonna say last but not least, but yeah, last but actually least, is AI. If you use AI for art, you kind of suck. You're pretty lazy, and you probably like the idea of art and the idea of a finished product, but you don't really want to learn how to make it yourself. And you might claim that it takes a lot of time and energy, and maybe it does take a lot of time because these AI programs can't get exactly what you want and can't match the image in your mind specifically. And that's why you should learn to actually create art, because then you can get exactly what you want when you are actually in control, because you're not actually in control with any generative AI software, and that's what I hate about it, besides the whole, environmental impact and all of the other, art theft and shit, so. But you're probably also very morally... hey, where was I? My camera died. Oh, yeah, AI. If you use AI for art, you're probably also, really, morally lazy, in that you're the type of person who doesn't vote. You're the type of person who, are there wars and horrible things and whatever going on in the world? Probably, but you don't care. You don't think about it. You just think about your own life and how things affect you, and not that much about how your actions affect other people. And come on, man, you can do better. You can be better. Come on. Yeah, I mean, I think you want to be an artist, but you haven't put in the work, and putting in the work is so fun. So just pick any media, any other media that I've said in this video, and start using it. Pick it up and try to make something with your own hands, because I bet you're really frustrated actually, because I think you can't get exactly what you want. You don't have full control when you're using an AI program. if you really have an artist's mind and desire to create, you're probably getting frustrated because you can't get exactly what you want. So you should just learn how to make art yourself and then can make much better, exciting things. That's all of the different art supplies and art media that I know about. So if I missed any, please let me know in the comments. I didn't talk about things like clay or sculpture or fiber arts because I'm just talking about two-dimensional art here, but let me know if you want me to do an expanded version of this and talk about like things like crochet and jewelry making and acting and singing, things beyond just two-dimensional visual art. I would love to make another video like this. This was fun. It was fun to write this and record this. Let's see, I don't know how fun it will be to edit this. That's usually my least favorite part of the process. So I hope you enjoyed. I make a lot of other art, creativity related videos. I'm also a musician. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you should probably subscribe. You should probably also like it and leave a comment telling me how great I am. And I hope you are having a fantastic day. Just a super fantastic day. And yeah, also let me know if I was like right or wrong. Did I get you right? Or was I so off base? Was I so off the mark? And hopefully you weren't offended if I got you wrong, because no matter what, you're an artist and you're super cool. Unless you use AI, then you're not an artist and you're not cool. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, please. Love you. Bye. Hand heart. Woo. Bye.